Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. So obviously we started off with Tahara. One of the first things I mentioned, مفتاح الصلاة طهور وتحريمها التكبير وتحليلها التسليم. So the key to prayer is your purification, and obviously once you say Allahu Akbar at-takbir, everything that is halal becomes haram, and once you say taslim, everything that was haram in the prayer becomes halal again. And eating, sleeping, whatever you want to do becomes halal again. So I mentioned about Miftah salah, the key to prayer is Tahara. And we mentioned for you to pray, one of the first things is Tahara. The second thing I mentioned was Satrul Awra, that is covering your private. So just to make sure everybody's on the same page, let's start with for men, what is the bare minimum that, since the slides are Hanbali, let me see how much you guys, if anybody reviewed the slide or anybody reviewed yesterday's, what's the bare minimum? Able to knees. And if somebody's Hanafi, what would you add? That's Hanbali. You would add the knees. The Hanafis include the knees. The navel is not counted, so basically navel and below. So the Hanbalis, especially Imam Ahmed, to be very precise, if they had the ability to cover, they would cover the shoulders also. So navel to knees is what everybody agrees upon. So this is male. For female, what is agreed upon? Let's start with what is agreed upon, because the strictest opinions are the Hanbalis, so I will leave you go to them at the end. What is agreed upon between the scholars for awrah for women in salah? Let's start with salah.
Everything except for
face and the hands, yes. The Hanaf are lenient on the feet, but the majority will go all agree on like the face and the hands are not awrah. The outside of salah, so there is the Hanbali position which is outside of the salah, if they will include the face and the hands. That's why I said the Saudi, if you go to Saudi, niqab is culturally very, very common, but this goes back to a fiqh position that they believe that covering the face and the hand is part of the awrah. But there's a clear hadith that mentions everything is awrah except for the face and the hands. So yes.
One question, but when you say hand, does it have a
Till the bone.
here,
Till the bone.
till the wrist bone?
Yes, this bone is what you call the hands. So to hopefully that's clear. The other thing I think you guys had asked about was when it comes to the skin. I mentioned about if, especially let's say an animal died. So let's say sheep. Sheep is something we eat. So you can take a principle from this class. Anything that you're allowed to eat, but let's say it was mayyit and it was dead, it just died, or you didn't slaughter it the way we wanted to. In this case, if you tan it, then you're allowed to use it. Anything smaller than the size of a cat, you can tan it. Anything which you don't eat or not smaller than the size of a cat, you won't use it for tanning.
Anything you don't
eat or smaller than size of a cat. So hopefully that gives some light to the question you guys are asking. Remember, generally when they say cat, you go to urf, like what is the custom? You know the size of a cat. Everybody has an idea of the size of a cat. Obviously, sometimes even when I say yasir, sometimes the hadith, yu'fa al-yasir, when it talks about anything small, let's say a small amount of blood you have in your hands, it won't be considered a nullifier of wudu, because if it's something yasir, it's always overlooked. So obviously I cannot tell you, 1 liter or 2 liter. I can't give you a number, but something what is considered yasir amongst the people, something light, this is always overlooked. So blood is considered najasa. So that's why I mentioned it.
So, let me clarify. Any animal smaller than a cat, you cannot use their skin
for tanning.
For tanning.
Yes.
Any animal bigger than a cat,
which you eat.
Which you eat, yes.
You can use. Hopefully that's.
So the skin of a tiger or.
Do you eat it?
No, we don't eat it, but people use it and they're home for.
Yeah, we don't, especially the ones with those teeth. We're not supposed. The hyena is ikhtilaf among the scholars, but I don't think anyone if you eat hyenas. So
no. People maybe prey on those skin because they use it as.
It's not considered pure. Anything that's mayyit, you won't consider it pure. Is that clear? It's mayyit. Yes. Blood in general. General blood is najasa. So that's why, obviously, like I said, I think most of you, even me, if you have a scratch, there's a good chance you would have had a scratch and you're still praying. Anything yasir, anything that is small is always overlooked. Okay, so inshallah, the last time we spoke about, oh, nothing is seen here.
I'm looking for running.
Okay. Yeah, do you want to just, let me just, all right, so okay. So the last time we spoke about furud, wajibat, shurut, and sunan. I think shurut I've already covered, niyyah, and I told about removing anything that is, so let's say you have nail polish, you have to remove it. I'm not talking about this, whatever breathers or whatever they call it nowadays. Anything that does not let, paint is a good example. So if you're a painter, you want to make sure you remove it because the water has to touch. So izalatu ma yamna'u al-wusul. Tamyiz wal aql. Tamyiz is somebody has to reach the age of 7. Typically, that is what you would consider somebody is, it's a condition for his wudu to be valid. And I mentioned the hadith, the pen is lifted on 3. As-sabi hatta yahtalim. Even for the small boy until he reaches puberty. So an obligation is when he hits puberty. So who gets the reward if a boy from 7, let's say, to 13 is puberty? It's the parents who are actually commanding him to pray. They get the reward. Let's say they even take him to Hajj or Umrah. It's the parents who get the reward. When I went for Hajj, I saw people brought their children. So mashallah. So this is one of the things. It's, it should be motivating for us. But once he hits puberty, it is an obligation. So his wudu is valid if he hits the age of 7 and he's aqil and he is in his senses. Islam, izalatu kharij min as-sabil, removing anything that is from the exits again, anything that's not letting you reach. So all of these, before you start the wudu, you want to make sure you have these conditions. Niyyah, obviously, you need to have niyyah that you're going to do wudu. We spoke about furud and wajibat. So furud, I mentioned ghaslul wajh, yani washing the face. Ghaslul yadayn, this is from here up till marafiq, till the elbows, including the elbows. Ma'sul ra's is basically for the women also. I'll mention, I think I didn't mention last time. Starting from the beginning to the end, all the other madhahib, if they wash partially, it's overlooked for them. But al-udhunan min al-ras, the Prophet mentioned that the 2 ears are from the head. So for us, generally, the ears are included when you wipe. So you start from the beginning to the end, not the neck, come back, and then you start. The sunnah, the Hanaf and the Hanbali will renew the water, i.e. you touch water again, and you do. If you skip it, you drop the sunnah. Now for the female, obviously they're not going to come back, especially if they have long hair. They just do a whole roll and they stop. Is that clear for male and female? Male, obviously you can go back and forth. What all agree upon is partial. The Hanbalis will go back and forth. Inshallah, can I move forward?
Yeah, could you clarify regarding the sisters wiping over their hijab? Is it the same concept as wiping over socks?
Yes, we'll come to that inshallah. If I jump, then okay. So what is the difference between wajibat and furud? I think you guys were talking about it. So we spoke about la wudu liman lam yuzkar ism Allah. There's no wudu for the one who does not mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Majority of the scholars take the position saying Bismillah is the sunnah. The Hanbalis take the position that it is wajib. If he forgets, let's say he just starts doing wudu, then it is overlooked. Same thing, the ghasl al-kaffayn thalathan. Once you get up from your sleep, if you forget to wash your hands 3 times, it is overlooked. But the furud are not overlooked. I.e., if you forget to wash your face, you can't say, I forgot, I just move on. You go back and you wash your face, because furud you can drop, but the wajibat, if you forget, then it's overlooked. But if as soon as you remember to say Bismillah, this is the commentary of some of the scholars. So these two, this is the difference between furud and wajib. Yes. So let's give you an example. We went through this. Yes. Oh, you're talking about the wiping? Not start from the beginning. So let's say you start washing and you goggle your mouth, but you forgot to wash your face. You went straight to the hands. You will just start. Then you will go back to just washing your hands, and then you go to your hands after that. So you will only go to the one that you missed, and then you will continue the order. So tartib and muwala, is a condition for the Hanbalis and the Shafi'is. Why do they say this? It goes back to the ayah in the Quran, وَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى مَرْفَقٍ وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. So wipe your heads, وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ, and your legs till the Ka'b, is till the ankles. So they strictly follow that based on the ayah in the Quran itself. And obviously there's some grammar rules which I beyond this class. So sticking to the sequence is one of the, again, furud, tartib, muwala is you have to do it like one after the other, one after the other, one after the other.
Is there a difference between supposed to do right first and left?
Yes. So
Doing left or right is okay.
the sunnah is to do it right, and then you can go to the left. But for some reason, if you started the left, you have just dropped the sunnah.
It's not part of the program.
Yeah.
So, one other question is, can you clarify the interpretation of the farad? What is the wajib?
Yes. So furud. So let's say you forgot to say Bismillah. This happens all the time to everybody. The person just goes and he starts doing wudu, and then he remembers, I didn't say Bismillah. It's overlooked because he didn't do it on purpose. If you remember, the scholars always comment saying, just say Bismillah at that point in time as soon as you remember. Same thing with the ghasl thalatha. Once you get up from your night sleep, then the wajib is to wash your hands 3 times. If you forget, again, this is overlooked. So the difference between wajib and furud in this case is that if you forget, this is overlooked. The furud, if you forget, there is no overlooking. You repeat or you go back to the one that you forgot. This is the major difference. Hopefully that answered your question from last week.
So if you remember it, if you don't do it.
If you remembered while you're, while they usually tell you like, if it's overlooked in general, but some of the scholars have commented, say Bismillah once you remember.
Right? So I'm saying if you remember and you don't do it, then the wajib becomes like a farad. It's
If you remember, and then obviously then in this case you're on purpose relieving an obligation. But the majority of the scholars don't believe it's wajib. It's the Hanbalis who take the hadith to the literal sense and they take the position that it is wajib. So if you're a Hanbali, you can stick to
the rest is okay.
Sunnah. Even Ibn Qudama, he's a Hanbali scholar, he took a different position from Imam Ahmed.
So sorry.
Yes.
Some people want to join the Zoom.
Oh, subhanAllah. Oh yeah, that's what I should do. All right. So, okay. So we spoke. Now the next one is Sunan. So what is expected out of you is to wash 1 time is bare minimum. Okay. So let me just siwak. لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرت بالسواك عند كل صلاة. If it was not a difficulty upon my ummah, I would have commanded them to use siwak for every salah. In another narration, for every wudu. But because it was not a command, here he says, if it was not a difficulty upon my ummah, the scholars tell you like this is a sunnah. So using siwak for every salah or using siwak in general is a sunnah. The next one is tartib al-fard al-wahid. Oh yeah, can you guys just confirm on the chat if you guys can see it? Or is on Zoom? Is that okay? Tartib al-fard al-wahid. You asked this question, right to left is a sunnah. Tathlith is a sunnah, i.e. doing it 3 times is a sunnah. So if you did it 2 times, no problem. If you the bare minimum, you have to do it once. That obviously it's understood. But doing it 3 times is a sunnah. So if you wash your face 3 times, is a sunnah. The other one is al-dhikr al-warid ba'dah ashhadu an la, after you finish your wudu, any sort of dhikr that you have from the sunnah is again a sunnah. Ghasl al-kaffayn. So when you start your wudu, after you say Bismillah, let's say you didn't wash your hands, you went straight to gargling your mouth, it's a sunnah. Yeah, let's say at regular time. I'm not talking about getting up from your night sleep. This is again a sunnah. Hopefully that clarifies the wudu section.
You can miss after you've got up and everything.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yes, you can go straight to washing your.
4 pillars of skip. Well, like here's for a long time burning out.
Yeah.
And include the
Madmada, so make sure you do the madmada and wastanshaq, that is gargling on the nose, the face, the hands, and then obviously the ears. You can do bare minimum of one of everything.
Yeah. And then the ankle,
Ankles, including the ankles.
those 5.
Yes,
Other-
yes. And tartib. You obviously, I'm assuming you're going to do everything in order and
Yeah.
muwala.
What is the fifth one? I thought it was 4.
Tartib and muwala, like sequence.
Is that what you meant? So he said.
Madman, face,
Ears and arms, right?
arms,
And then
wiping over the head and the ears, which is included.
the feet.
Feet.
And make sure you do it more. Yeah, but I think the mouth and the nose is considered part of
What?
the face.
Yes, it's considered part of the face. So you can consider that one.
Oh, okay.
All right. So this should be pretty straight. So next time you hear the iqamah, maybe you can do one. So hopefully that clarifies that.
Chief, is that to say that the Rasul never did it once?
There are narrations that he did only 2 times. He did only once. There are narrations. That's how they based out of it. That he did it only 2 times and stuff. So the bare minimum you have to do is once. So same thing in the Salah, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. The bare minimum is 1. The 3 is the Sunnah. So you have to keep that in mind.
So there are narrations that the Prophet
Did
5,
Yes.
but not 1.
I'm not sure of the 1 time, but 2, I remember reading it clearly that he did it 2 times.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if right to left sequence is sunnah, you do without thinking, you do left to right, it's still valid. You don't have
Still
to,
valid.
you don't have to go back and
Just continue. Unless you want to waste water. But just think of this hadith, ayakulu washrabu wala tusrifu, like eat and drink and do not, be extravagant in your. So keep that. Washing more than 3 times, obviously in our day and time, we're used to a lot of water. It is disliked to wash more than 3 times. So hopefully, inshallah, it should be, I'm telling myself, because we're all used to having excess amount of water. I remember when somebody gave me even this small bottle, I realized, oh, I can do this. Why am I wasting water? So that's when you realize you actually don't even need this running water. If somebody gives you this, you realize, oh, it's good enough.
It's always the worry that you might left,
Yes.
right? So that's what really causes.
Yeah. Sometimes people go into. Okay, let me not open that door for now. Inshallah.